that icy weather and I had to go and get it fixed, right?
You thought the gearbox or the clutch
Yeah.
had gone?
And then the TV went.
The TV went.
So then you know how things happen in threes. So I was thinking, God, man, I joked with you. I says, God, that's it.
Yeah,
Maybe something else.
yeah.
Something did go.
What happened?
I was grilling salmon the other day. Was it yesterday?
Yes.
Yesterday, grilling salmon on the cooker, right? And only half of the salmons were cooking. There was 4 pieces, you know, you buy the family pack in Aldi or Lidl or whatever. And I had the 4 of them in there for the 7 minutes before turning them over, and only half of them were cooking. So then I popped my head underneath the grill. Half of the things were only working.
Oh no. Well, are you sure?
I turned it on. I did a bit of
because
filtering.
you can do the middle 2 or the whole 4.
I've done
It's not
that. Yeah, I've turned it
So
off.
you need a new oven now.
I don't know. Is it? What do you think? But is that the 3? Is that me done now then?
Could be. It sounds like you're banjaxed.
Yeah, that's it. But you know, got the TV fixed, got the van fixed. Maybe get the cooker fixed, or maybe it's
Lovely. That
Saturday.
TV's beautiful. It's got that lovely 5-inch bezel. It's a beautiful.
Right, you taking a hand of my old TV? I paid to get it fixed. You says, God, go out and buy a new one. But I got it fixed for 120.
Yes, and I'll be waiting in the long grass to see how long that. I know whoever did it for you did an expert job, but
He
let's
did,
just see how
Daniel.
long it lasts.
David did. He did a great job. So, yeah. Well, let's see how long it does last.
Good. Well, you're very good. It's good for the environment. Your tightness is good for the environment.
Yeah.
Now you're going to be putting the salmon steaks just in a line.
I could have done that. I squeezed the 4 of them into half the grill. Now, I was honest to God, right? I says, well, I get another couple of years.
Ovens last a long time. I said this before to you. I would say if we were going to use in terms of how long we're going to live, I've got about an oven left in me. I would say. How many ovens do you think you have left in you?
Oh, sure, I'm going to live to 109. But listen to me.
That's 2 ovens.
Listen, what's the oldest appliance accoutrement that you have? Do you think?
Oh well,
let's go on.
I have a lot of stuff in the house.
I know
like
you
an
do.
oven. The oven would be 25 years old. Like
that's good, isn't it? You got your money's worth.
Low
there.
mileage though.
What do you sell it for?
If you can get it out, you can have it.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
Okay, all right, good luck.
See you on Monday, 9 o'clock. Time for a news update. Let's go over to Ryan. Morning, Ryan.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí and emergency services are at the scene of a road traffic collision on the N56 near Falkar this morning. Local diversions are in place. The road is currently closed. Motorists are advised to drive slowly. There is ice on the road. The road is expected to reopen shortly. Gardaí are appealing for witnesses following a serious road traffic collision between a car and an elderly pedestrian at Lower Main Street, Letterkenny, yesterday afternoon. The incident took place at approximately 1 p.m. The pedestrian, who is in his 80s, was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for serious injuries. The road remains closed this morning. Anyone with information, including dashcam footage, is asked to contact Letterkenny Garda Station. The official launch of €6.5 million of Peace Plus funding will take place today at ATU Letterkenny. The funding is for the Peace Air initiative being led by Letterkenny-based Airnact. This cross-border initiative is focused on improving air quality across the island of Ireland and will be conducted by multiple stakeholders, including Donegal County Council. The chair of the Donegal County Council's Defective Concrete Blocks Committee has said a meeting with the Banking and Payments Federation of Ireland yesterday was positive. It is vital work is done so that the market can start to move again, was the feeling of BPFI head following the meeting. Councillor Thomas Sean Devine says after the meeting there is now opportunity for further collaboration.
Yeah, that's what we agreed today, that there will be more cooperation between both parties now through the Council Defective Concrete Block Committee and the Banking Federation. You know, and as I say, we have a local group there, the focus group, and it's absolutely tremendous the work that these people do. You know, and it was credit to them for getting the banking group set up and getting this work done.
118 homes and businesses on Tory Island have been connected through the new broadband plan. This announcement comes from National Broadband Ireland, who say these connections take the wider Donegal total to over 25,000. They have also announced works have been completed in rural areas across the county, including Ardra, Dunglow, Bundoran and across the Inishowen Peninsula. And a 26-year-old man has been arrested and charged to court in Derry. This is in connection to an incident which was reported to have occurred on Great James Street in the early hours of Wednesday morning. He's been charged with theft, common assault and possession of a Class B controlled drug. He's expected before Derry Magistrates Court today. And the weather, cloudy with mist and fog patches, mostly dry with isolated coastal showers to the east, turning heavy at times. Highest temperatures of 4 to 7 degrees, cooler further west, light to moderate southeasterly winds. That's all from the newsroom for now. We'll be back with a news update and the obituary notices at 10 o'clock.
Get ready to expect more for less with our BYD 261 offers. You can expect monthly payments as low as €189. Visit your local BYD showroom today. Price based on a BYD Dolphin Surf Boost with RRP of €22,230. Purchased via PCP on 3.5% APR. 35% deposit required. 37-month term. Available until 31st of 3rd 26. Lending criteria conditions apply. Bank of Ireland Trading is Bank of Ireland Finance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The Talk of the Northwest. The Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. You're very welcome along to the last it's not even the first 9 till noon show, it's the last Greg Hughes show of the week. It is Friday, the 16th of January 2026. How are you all keeping? I hope you're well, and I look forward to your company for the next couple of hours. We've got an awful lot coming up on the programme. Of course, there's been an awful lot of conversation this week in relation to hospital overcrowding, ambulances backed up at the ED, and also to the cancellation of 4 women's operations, potentially life-saving operations for women with breast cancer. We're going to be speaking to Dermot Monaghan from the HSE to get some answers to some of those questions. We have the Friday panel coming up discussing some of the big stories of the week and so much more besides. Get involved in the conversation, and you really do, and it's fantastic. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 07491 25,000. I'll have a quick run through the papers this morning because we've moved the Friday panel into the second hour on a Friday. In the Derry Journal, a Belfast man has appeared in court accused of sending a menacing message directed at the family of a Bloody Sunday victim. Dean Portis, 41, is facing prosecution over a social media post seen by the brothers of William McKinney, one of the victims shot dead by the British Army in Derry. Portis of Olive Street in Belfast has been charged with 2 counts of improper use of a public communications network to send a message of a menacing character. And, you know, it is a big deal to do so. It happens all the time, but it is something that can be pursued through the courts, it has to be said. On to the Irish Times now. And schools must use the preferred name and pronouns of transgender students who should also be allowed to use the bathroom of their preferred gender, according to a new guide on the rights of trans people. Now, there was a bit of ambiguity in relation to this, and I'll put my hands up. I think some people did point this out to me, and I couldn't find the guidance that showed that this was the case. But as it turns out, and I suppose if schools must use the preferred name and pronouns of transgender students, although what does define a transgender student is how is that determined? Maybe it comes out in the article, but I mean, is it a case, and I'm not saying this is what being transgender is, but if you wake up on a Monday, what is the protocol to sort of say, right, well, this person now claims they're a girl or they claim they're a boy and this is their name, and you'd have to switch the use of the pronouns. I'm not really sure how good this is for kids. I'm not going to lie to you. I think there's a formative part of our lives whereby a bit of space, maybe a bit of guidance can be useful until we fully determine. I mean, let's face it, the human brain doesn't finish forming until you're 25. I think we have to make sure, are we doing the right thing for these children? But I'll read on anyway. The guide is produced by the Irish Council for Civil Liberties with support from the state's human rights watchdog, the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission. It sets out the legal right of trans people in society, at work, in school, college and in sports. It says if trans rights are not upheld by schools, colleges and businesses, trans people may be able to, in many cases, take legal action against them. Your school must make every effort to update your name and pronoun in relevant systems and documents. It must also use your correct name and pronouns in day-to-day interactions, the guide says. The Equal Status Act 2000 to 2018 prohibit discrimination on the grounds of gender, which typically covers trans and non-binary people. If you feel that your school is discriminating against you because you are trans or non-binary, you may choose to make a complaint to the Workplace Relations Commission. The ICCL guide also says that while there is no specific provision in Irish law concerning the use of bathrooms and changing rooms, as a trans student, you should be able to access toilets and changing facilities that correspond with your gender identity. Now, whilst I understand that this is coming from human rights organisations. If a student who's born a male and then is of the view that they're female and that is how they want to be treated and they want to use facilities that align with the gender that they believe they are, what about maybe if you've got daughters, for an example, if it was boy to girl, maybe you've got daughters, what about their rights not necessarily to share a space with a biological boy with all the bits and pieces and what have you? I mean, where of the rights? Or maybe people don't mind. Maybe that's fine. I'm only proposing here. I'm not making statements as such. But in terms of the equal status, where are the rights for the young girls or the young boys to be around people of the same gender biologically, if you know what I mean? The rights, it seems, are they being stacked too heavily in one direction? I don't know. It's just to open up the conversation, because these are our children, right? And we've got every right to talk about it without being accused of this, that or that. If you are told you are not allowed to use a bathroom matching your gender identity, this may constitute discrimination on the basis of gender. Again, though, what about the rights of other people as well? But when it comes to businesses, the guide says that you should be able to use the bathroom and changing rooms that correspond with your gender identities in venues like restaurants, gyms, and shops, including clothing shops. So again, you can self-ID in this country. What this regulation is saying, that let's just use it as me, if I were of the view that my gender was female, I could self-identify that and start using changing rooms, female changing rooms and female toilets in Letterkenny Shopping Centre or wherever it might happen to be, according to these guidelines. And if I'm denied access to the bathrooms or changing rooms for that matter, this includes gyms and swimming baths and what have you. So if I want to use the female, and this is obviously, I'm not just saying if I choose to, I'm on about if I actually were transgender, right, and I identified as female, well, if I was not then allowed to use bathrooms or changing rooms in the likes of gyms, shops, etc., that corresponded with my gender identity, then this could constitute a refusal of goods or services on the basis of your gender, and any amount and may amount to discrimination under the Equal Status Act 2018. But what it doesn't say is what rights a woman might have, a biological woman might have, if I were to turn them to their changing rooms. That's not referenced here. So I presume there are some women that could feel that this is a dilution of their rights to sort of single-sex spaces, if I could put it like that. So why has this come up? Well, the guide refers to a recent UK Supreme Court judgment which found that the term woman under equal status legislation did not apply to trans women, but says this has no impact on Irish law. And in fact, what this has done, this has copper-fastened the rights of a biological male, using that example, who identifies as a female, to use all female spaces that align with their gender. And if they're refused so, they actually have grounds for legal action in relation to that. I'm not sure if you have a view on that or not. 08660 25,000. And when I say I'm not sure if you have a view on that, I'm on about in any element of it, whether you think it's good, whether you think it's bad, whether you're indifferent. Okay, I'm not here trying to whip something up so that lots of people say this is a disgrace. That's not the point. I want to have a nuanced conversation if that's possible, because it is really quite significant, and it does affect everyone, because you have to consider if it was your boy and it was a biological girl, and I'm not using that in any way disparaging, it's just to make it clear what I'm talking about. If you have a 8 or 9 year old boy, for an example, how would you feel about an 8 or 9 year old girl who identifies as a boy having the right to be in the changing spaces? Alternatively, if you've got a 12, 13 year old girl in the swimming baths in a swimming centre, and there's potentially a 25-year-old transgender woman born a man. Again, I don't wish to be offensive, it's just for description purposes. That could affect you. So you have you could have no problem with it whatsoever, or you could feel that that's inappropriate. I don't know. It's up to you guys. The Irish Independent this morning: there is concern at government level as RTE's chief financial officer has quit her role less than 18 months, or after less than 18 months. Mary Hurley was brought in to tidy up some of the mess uncovered by the Ryan Tubridy payment scandal. but is now set to leave the broadcaster. A government source said Mary Hurley is excellent. She applied herself to the role with incredible determination and focus. This is really disappointing and a concerning development. And there'll be more from that in the weekend papers and next week. It is going to be a story of some consequence there. Serving and former ministers who do not pay back money that was overpaid to them by mistake will not receive their government pension, will not receive their pensions, a government minister has said. It emerged last June that around 13,000 current and former civil servants and ministers will to have their pension deductions assessed for possible anomalies. During leaders' questions in the Dáil yesterday, Sinn Féin's Pearse Doherty asked why 10 current ministers and 17 former ministers had yet to pay back excess payments, claiming some were overpaid tens of thousands of euro. And then he released a press release demanding to know what Charlie McConaughey's status was in relation to this. So he made contact with his office, as you know. He won't speak to me, but we did get a statement. Let me see how it reads. I can't read it all, but I certainly can give the thrust of it. This came in from his press secretary. I can confirm on behalf of the minister that he's a payment plan agreed with the NSSO to clear the amount owed. So he does owe money, but he's going to pay it back. They point out that the issue arose as a result of a voluntary reduction in salary that Minister McConaughey had applied to his salary of 10% of his Dáil and ministerial salary for each year of the previous government. The NSSO had subsequently indicated that they made a mistake and that the pension levy should have been paid on the part of the salary that was donated. And Minister McConaughey subsequently received a bill for a pension levy to be paid on the money he had donated. I can confirm on behalf of the minister that he has a payment plan agreed with the NSSO to clear this amount. So he is one of those ministers that have yet to pay it back, but plans are afoot, we're told. An explosive new survey has revealed fury in Ireland's Defence Forces. 1 in 4 respondents said they had experienced unacceptable behaviour over the past year, such as abuse of power, bullying or sexual assault. The results of an internal survey of our troops carried out last year, which shows over half are unhappy with the quality of equipment and digs, while nearly 50% plan to retire early. So that's a problem, isn't it? We have a rich and proud history of serving in the Defence Forces in this county. Maybe you were one of those surveyed. Maybe you're a former member. Maybe you have something to say in that regard. Let us know. I'll remind you of the numbers in the not too distant future. Now, on the issue of immigration, I'm London Irish born, so that these people believe I should return to London. I've no words to say about these racists. They should be attacking our incompetent government, not those human beings who are victims of war or economic deprivation. Well, you'd be classed as someone who is not born in Ireland, effectively. There's a bad pothole as deep as a car wheel on the main street in Stranola. It's so deep it would do serious damage to the car. The council needs to fill this ASAP. Give us more details. Where is it? If you've got a picture, I'd be very interested. Dangerous corner. On the topic of a dangerous corner, local looking to raise awareness to a bad corner at Galdonna Road. Desi's Corner, 12 cars in since September till now. If something's not done, a barrier or something needs done before someone is killed. Thanks, Greg. I think that's come up on the show before, that particular corner. I'm not surprised. Yesterday, we talked quite a bit about artificial intelligence. A caller says, wonder what impact all this talk and publicity about Grok did for the stock and share price for Elon Musk. It's strange how this misogynist has just backed down now and agreed to reduce the app's ability. Is it a case for him, as there's no such thing as bad publicity? Well, yes, because there is no such thing as bad publicity. He posted a post about 3 or 4 days ago, and it was showing the interest in Grok since this controversy started, and the line was pretty steady, and then there was this massive increase, and he says Grok now the most popular and searched AI tool on the market. He didn't reference the fact that it might not be for all the right reasons. Therefore, you are right. There is no such thing as bad publicity. How do you get in contact with us? Well, here's a reminder for you.
The Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio. Text, WhatsApp 086 60 25000. Call 074 91 25000 or email comments at highlandradio.com.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Big plans, big dreams. Home improvement loans, borrow up to €80,000. Visit letterkennycu.ie today.
Granny, did you hear what I said?
If you've been saying, what was that? A bit more lately, it might be time to have your hearing checked. At Connect Hearing, we don't just fit hearing aids, we help you hear life again. From tiny in-the-ear styles to Bluetooth connected devices, we fit the best solution for you. Call 074 911 3296. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Imagine sinking into a perfect comfort every night. At Restex Beds, we believe a better sleep means a better life. Choose from our vast range of quality mattresses and find the one that's perfect for you. Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with our bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the Northwest, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9am until 5pm and on Saturdays from 9am until 3:30pm. Book your free consultation today on 074 9725822 or visit cherrymore.ie. Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, where affordability and luxury combine.
True luxury is best experienced firsthand. So, experience it for yourself today at Lexus Letterkenny. From the thrilling NX to the all-electric RZ, both available with a €2,000 bonus once registered before January 31st. Enjoy everyday extraordinary with the compact LBX or the spacious RX for ultimate comfort, with flexible payment options available across the range. Luxury begins with L at Lexus Letterkenny Port Road. Lexus. Experience amazing. Terms and conditions apply.
Say yes to your dream wedding at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny. Join us this Sunday for our wedding fair from 1 till 4pm. Explore our stunning ballroom, meet our expert wedding team and top suppliers. All wedding couples will be entered into a draw for a romantic night away with dinner in the beautiful Newramore Estate by McGettigans. Your perfect day starts here at the Clanry Hotel Wedding Fair. This Sunday from 1 till 4pm.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
It's 21 minutes past 9, bar the shouting. Right, so we are aware often of the dangers of the water, both inland and at sea, and often, you know, it's quite obvious where we are potentially putting ourselves in a position of peril, but no, it's not always the case. And there was an incident in Bundoran yesterday where a couple of people got into difficulty. Alan Clancy was walking the beach in Bundoran and joins us on the programme now. Hi, Alan. Good morning to you.
Hi, Greg. How are you? Good morning.
I'm all right, Alan. So you were down just on the beach. Tell us how events unfolded.
I was just out for a walk. Happened to be walking around Rogie. It was a nice day, nice big seas. I was coming down the hill at Rogie and I just spotted some children playing on the beach. Kind of thought they were in a little bit of a precarious situation if something had gone wrong. By the time I got to the bottom of the hill, all hell broke loose and a child got washed out. The mother went down to save the child. The mother got washed out and I just happened to be walking past and I just ran down to assist them at the water's edge and was lucky enough to get them out in time.
Wow, amazing stuff. What about the situation that you thought was perilous before you unfortunately turned out to be correct?
Just a little bit of experience, thankfully, Greg, going up beside the sea. You can, those big swells and the big surging tides, sometimes a wave can wash anything up to 50 metres or more up the beach. So you might think that you're actually a long way from the water, but it can change very quickly. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. A big surge of tide came up the beach and just took the legs out from under the kid, and the kid was gone before it knew what happened. And
did you have to go into the water to rescue the child?
I did, yeah. I went up. Thankfully, there was a life ring not too far from me at the side of the beach, so I went up and grabbed the life ring. I went down, entered the water, was able to get the child off the mother and throw the ring around the mother, and was lucky enough to be able to pull her to safety as well.
Well done, Alan. I don't want to be sensationalist, right, but if you hadn't been there to intervene, would this be a very different story today, do you think?
Listen, we'll never know the answer to that question, thank God. But they were definitely in a bad situation. There's no doubt about it. They were definitely in a bad situation.
And thankfully, those life rings were there. You know, we cover stories from time and again, Alan. And I know this is a word of warning about the seas, but we carry stories now and again about these life buoys going missing. Perfect example of how critical they are in a certain
Perfect example,
situation.
Greg. If anything, there should be more of them along the beach. I know I only had to run 10 or 15 meters to get a ring, but I mean, in that situation, seconds are crucial. So I would nearly be an advocate for more rings on the beach. I think they should be every 10 yards, every 10 meters, maybe.
Yeah, and it goes to show too.
They did their job yesterday,
Yeah, for sure, Alan. It goes to show too. We can't presume everyone has this local knowledge either. I wonder, in terms of education,
absolutely. Like to the untrained eye, you would have thought there was absolutely no danger at all. It's just the nature of the conditions yesterday. It was a big swell, it was a surging sea, and unfortunately these things just happen very, very quickly.
Well done, Alan. Listen, fair play to you. That's an amazing thing that you did, even regardless of how dangerous the water is at this time of year, the cold, and going in and doing what you did. Not everyone would do that, and it's amazing and fair play. Have you had an opportunity to engage with the mum and daughter since, or what was the conversation like?
No, I haven't seen them since. Listen, obviously they were in a lot of shock yesterday, so it was no time for chat. But I did hear through the grapevine yesterday through a friend of mine that they're all doing well. Mum and daughter are well. They're obviously kept in hospital just for a little bit of observation, but I think they're happy enough with everything, thank God. All
right, Alan, well done to you. Thanks so much for sharing that story with us. Killian O'Kelly, RNLI Bundoran Lifeboat Station. Killian, remarkable observation, I suppose, from Alan, and then thankfully had that skill set and that presence of mind to go in, and I think we can say save these people's lives.
Absolutely, and I mean, an interesting, I'll give your listeners an interesting statistic. About 50% of drownings in Ireland, the people did not intend to enter the water.
Wow.
So yesterday is an example of that in Bundoran. They were just people walking on the beach, and as you rightly pointed out, the water temperature yesterday was absolutely freezing. So even falling in or getting hit by a wave yesterday, even the temperature alone would put someone into what we call cold water shock. And unfortunately, we've had a number of incidences in that exact location on Bundoran Main Beach. And indeed, I was really glad to hear the ring buoy was involved. The last serious incident that I can remember on the beach, another local man actually swam out, a man in his 70s, with a ring buoy and managed to stabilise a young woman who got pulled out in similar in a similar situation. But Alan mentioned there about the surge, and yesterday was a strange day in terms of weather, because it was actually a nice day to go for a walk, but it was a very dangerous day in terms of the surf conditions in Bundoran and the general area. We had massive, very powerful, what I call a very powerful winter swell, and they could catch out, because you could walk on Bundoran Beach 20 times and you could be a few meters from the shoreline and it'd be fine. But on days like yesterday, the sheer power and the sheer volume of water coming in those waves was enough to surge up the beach and catch someone out. Now, one thing I'd say to you too, Greg, about this is that I think in Bundoran, the local population, people like Alan and other people I know that have done rescues on the main beach and have raised the alarm, the town has a role, the people of the town have a role in keeping that area safe. From my own knowledge, the two people yesterday were from outside the town. They were from an inland county. So when you visit Bundoran, you're not always as tuned in as, say, some of the local residents might be to the risks. And over the years, the thing that keeps Bundoran safe is people like Alan and local people being vigilant and keeping an eye on what is happening down there at the main beach. Because if you're a visitor, you just don't know. It's that kind of local knowledge bit. But the way he used the ring buoy, the way he raised the alarm, that was all perfect. And one thing I would say to listeners is, we are fortunate in Bundoran to have a lifeboat service. Our lifeboat takes about 7 minutes to launch. On a good day, 7 to 10 minutes. So, Greg, you can imagine there in a serious incident like that, 7 minutes is an eternity, and that's us doing our best.
Yeah, it's amazing response time. I think too, Killian, there is this perception of the sea that it edges in and it edges out, and even in open spaces, Rosnella or Downings or Merver or wherever it might be, you do get these surges. Is it exacerbated in Bundoran because of the sort of cove nature of it, that the water, the surge is even maybe more pronounced in Bundoran, or maybe that's a misframing of it?
Well, two things I'd say on that. On flat beaches like Rosnowla, the surge can actually go further because the beach is flatter. It's a big long, everyone parks at the beach now, and the surge can go further. But the surge itself on Rosnowla would have less power than on a narrow beach and a steep beach like Bundoran. The problem in Bundoran is once the surge comes in, once it starts to go out, it's a narrow beach, and therefore the movement of the water, the rip current, the rip tide as it's called, can be actually a lot harder than on a big wide flat beach. But it's when you get into that volume of water, it's very dangerous. And one of the challenges we have in terms of prevention is, we would say to people the sea is unpredictable. But actually, when you go to visit Bundoran or Rosnowla or anywhere like that, you can walk 100 times, and in your own mind, it becomes predictable. You think, I walk here all the time, and it's fine. But actually, on a day like yesterday, even though it was a nice day for a walk, it was not a day to be anywhere near the water's edge.
Killian, while I was listening to you intently, I was thinking too, how do you articulate this warning, if you know what I mean? Because it's a quirk that because of local knowledge, but how do you articulate it? You could put a sign up and say, please be aware of surges, but that in and of itself would not necessarily cover what we saw yesterday. So, and maybe you think I'm incorrect in that, but it is about local knowledge and passing the information on and keeping our eyes peeled.
It is. It's absolutely about the local knowledge, which is why I made the point, I suppose, not to put the responsibility on the people of Bundoran, but if they see something, like a visitor may not know and understand that. The likes of Alan would understand, that doesn't look like a safe situation. It's very challenging because a lot of the ways we would get messages out is through the internet and through the various social medias, but you don't always connect with the people who are visiting for a day. And I know of an incident 2 years ago where people came down and stayed in one of the local hotels, and they're from Dublin, and they go swimming every morning in Dublin, and they decided to go for a swim in that exact same location, again on a very rough day, but they didn't know. So it's very hard for us in the RNLI as an organisation to connect the right message to the right people. Locally, we do really well at it, but when you visitors, it can be more of a challenge. Now, the only thing I'd say to you too, yesterday is an unusual day in that, I go as far as say 90% of the time we don't have surf that big. But then you can have 3 weeks in the winter where it's just Bundoran gets pounded. Anyone who's local in Bundoran knows there's salt covering everything. We get 3 weeks of a low pressure out in the Atlantic. And Met Éireann has got better at the weather warnings, but our research in the RNLI shows us counterintuitively when the temperature goes above 25 degrees, so I'm talking in a heat wave in the summer, that's when the drowning risk really, really goes up. So it's a bit counterintuitive. You would think, it's good weather. But you see, when you've good weather in a heat wave, everybody goes to the coast and everybody says, I'll go for a swim or a stand-up paddleboard or a kayak. So that can be counterintuitive. When you have a very dramatic storm, like a red weather warning, I think the message really gets out there with the help of the media and Met Éireann and all that. But yesterday, unfortunately, was kind of an in-between day. If you were a surfer in Bundoran yesterday, Greg, that was a great day. But obviously it wasn't a great day for the two people who got caught by the waves on the beach.
Thank God Alan was there.
So it is a challenge.
And there's so many quirks because whilst the risk is greater in the summer, there's more people around maybe to save you when the risk is lower, but we do see it in the winter. It was just good luck that Alan was there and had that knowledge and the calmness and the understanding to do what he did. Keep up doing the great work that you and the crew down in Bundoran do. It's amazing how quickly, from the time the call goes in to you getting to the water, it's astonishing what you do. Killian, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Killian O'Kelly, RNLI Lifeboat, Bundoran Lifeboat Station, and also Alan Clancy, the hero who was walking the beach just around that beautiful Rogie walk. He spotted something and says, this looks a wee bit perilous. By the time he got down closer to the beach, unfortunately, his intuition was correct, but he was there, he was cool, he was calm, he was collected. The safety ring was there. It's so important that they are, and he was able to exercise that rescue or effect that rescue and get mum and child to safety, and they are doing okay now, we're told.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Take control of your finances with a debt consolidation loan today. Call 074 910 2126. Apply online through our app or in office.
If you're organising an event, you might be surprised by everything BizPrint offer, from photo props, backdrops, banners to tablecloths, pens, keyrings and mugs. Everything to make your event a big success. Call BizPrint on 9177955 or see bizprint.ie.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
What did you use to get the edges so smooth?
The Screwfix app.
I mean, how would you do it?
I just clicked on the tool and picked it up.
No, I mean, what did you actually do?
I just downloaded it.
Right.
The Screwfix app will be your new favourite tool. Browse, check stock and get exclusive offers. And quicker collection when you check in on the app. Screwfix, no stopping you.
Stay warm this new year with Homeland's mega deals. There's a £104 flow gas propane cylinder, now €99, save €10. Cozy Home cold briquettes, buy 5, get 1 free. Cozy Home kiln dried hardwood crate, now €249, save 50. All this and more in store and online at homeland.ie until January 21st.
In the big winter sale at Watson Menswear in Letterkenny, a selection of shirts and polos are half price. Also, a choice of children's clothing, half price. There's jeans, 2 for €75, 30% off winter coats, suits clearing from €99, and many more great top label menswear bargains in the big winter sale now on at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny, and at watsonmenswear.com.
Highland Radio Hospitality Awards 2026. It's time to shine a light on the places that make nights out, weekends away and great food so special. If there's a hotel, restaurant, bar, cafe or tourism business you love, now's your chance to say thank you. Nominate them for the Highland Radio Hospitality Awards at highlandradio.com. It only takes a minute, but it means a lot. Nominations close Friday the 23rd of January.
Now, there is a sister podcast to this programme, and the first episode is out today. We'll be putting them out each and every Friday. Real people, real stories, where we've a bit more time to get into the conversation. Not that we don't have time on this programme, but it's just another outlet for you. So this podcast will be live on our website just after 11 o'clock, and in the future it will also be available for you to listen on your favourite podcast service, the likes of Spotify, or the Apple one. What's that called again? Can't remember. Apple Podcasts or something anyway. So our guest this week is Jim McLaughlin. He's from Inishowen. He's got a very interesting story. He packed in the booze 40 years ago today, in fact, actually. He was just 22 years of age. His mother, who thankfully still with us, his mother says, right, you know, you're going to have to get yourself sorted here. It was a different time back then. He was taken to St. Connell's and spent 3 days in St. Connell's Hospital trying to get off the booze. He did so. He left and then wanted to go back in again and made friends in there and got a sense of community. He's had a very interesting life. He's had his ups and downs like we all have. Celtic Tiger, he lost everything. His business is in the Celtic Tiger. It's had its impact on his... he's had to go through health issues and all the usual relationship stuff. And we go through that in quite some detail with Jim, and here's just a sample of the podcast. As I say, it'll be available for you to listen to in full just after 11 o'clock on our website today. Right, sorry, I actually have pressed the wrong button. This is part of that conversation.
People think alcoholics are people that lie along the road, down and out, they're homeless, whatever. 95% of alcoholics are living what they think a normal life, but like I know we said too, like it is tough on families. It's tough. People say that families can through a tough time. That man there, that woman there, is very heavy in the drink, and he's going to get killed, and he's going to have an accident, and it's not fair what he's doing. But you have to think about the addict too, like.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's talk to the addict if they're listening. and they recognise a lot of themselves in this conversation. What is your advice, like from the beginning? Because I know you talk about acceptance and stuff, or maybe that is the beginning. I'll leave it open to you. But you talked about the success that you've had, which is fantastic, Jim, in helping other people. You know what? When they are still drinking, and when you can see that they are ready, you know, maybe to make a change, what do you say to them? What is it that works?
You just have to try and tell them that there is a better life. There is another life, and the better life is there for you if you grasp it and have a go at it, and don't be afraid of failing. Like I keep quoting 72 hours a lot, because I think that was enshrined in my head, the fact that I was on sedations and calls and then let out. But I tell anybody with an alcohol problem, you can't go off to drink for 40 years unless you do 72 hours first.
As I say, that podcast is available for you in its entirety on our website just after 11 o'clock today. And as I say, they'll be regular on Fridays, all different types of stuff, but it's real people, real stories. And already, actually, since I posted the preview of that, I've been contacted by a number of people who want different subjects discussed. Right, and we're really open to that, by the way. Different people, different subjects, and I've taken that on board. Some of the people that messaged me will know. Just conversations about things that go on in life that often aren't talked about, and parents can feel very isolated, for an example of one of the things that we will talk about into the future. So as I say, listen to it if you don't mind. It's coming up for you, as I say, on our website. I'm not saying listen to it at 11, but listen to it whenever it will be available from 11, and they'll be released every Friday. And what else was I going to say? Yep, anything in relation to that, Caroline Orr at highlandradio.com is your contact, and that's included in the audio of the podcast there. Now, we have spoken on numerous occasions to on a number of occasions, to Dr. Ciara Steele, a Donegal GP, of course, but co-founder of Clean Air Advocacy Ireland, and she joins us on the programme now. Ciara, thank you very much for your time today.
Good morning, Greg. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear. Right, Ciara, I suppose
that's great.
We'll just kick off for you to briefly give us a synopsis of some of your concerns that you've expressed with us in the past, just as a starting point so everyone's up to date about the benefits of clean air in schools for students, for teachers, for attendants, and also to, I suppose, how other countries can get this right, and if we have a will, there certainly is a way to achieve what you and others in this group believe is the right way forward.
Yeah, so I co-founded Clean Air Advocacy Ireland with another concerned parent, Sinead O'Brien, and that was really because we were getting feedback from patients and from her constituents. She was running for a councillor in Galway at the time, that the people were sick of being sick in indoor spaces where transmission of respiratory illnesses is known to be higher. At schools at the moment, have a high degree of absence, and this is confirmed by TUSLA data, which shows that illness absence is the highest form of absence from schools rather than any other form of absence. Parents were, coming to me and, expressing their concerns about their children being sick recurrently in classrooms that are poorly ventilated. And we know that indoor spaces, with buildings in homes where BER ratings are improving, they're sealed buildings or potentially they're old buildings that have mold, spores and other contaminants in the air really affect child health. And it's through that work it's spurred on by the pandemic that we can actually have, increased our knowledge about other parameters in indoor spaces that affect human health. And I suppose there is a sort of global movement to highlighting that indoor air quality is a significant impact on human health because we spend 90% of our time indoors. And that is where we breathe most of our air. Adults breathe 11,000 times a day and children up to 20,000 times a day. So we know that children in classrooms, have smaller lungs, they have more developing lungs, and we know that air pollution, both outdoors and indoors, affect children, even in the womb, even at the fetal stage of development, that has lasting impact throughout their life. And we also know that impacts of air quality in indoor spaces affect acute illness, but also chronic disease infection rather than just exacerbation. And we know, for example, in Ireland, asthma has one of the highest rates in Europe. In Ireland, 1 in 5 children have asthma, 1 in 10 adults in Ireland have asthma. So, but what we know is that recurrent respiratory illness actually generates asthma rather than just exacerbating it as well.
Yeah, it's
So
interesting
there's a lot
because,
of parameters.
Kira, I would never contradict you, but I perhaps wouldn't have been as on board with you in this area if our own boy, not mine and yours, mine and Ashley's boy Hudson, that'd be a reveal, wouldn't it? Mine and
Headline.
Yeah, I know, Kira. Listen, I'll be home soon.
Yeah.
No, but mine and Ashley's Hudson outside Neenra. So effectively, he's outside.
Yes.
And the infrequency of even sniffles. It's not immune, right? So there's been a couple of occasions, but over the course of the last couple of years, really infrequent stuffy noses, even, or earaches, or other stuff.
Yeah.
And I can't obviously clinically connect it to that, but obviously, it feels significant.
Yeah, well, he's breathing outdoor air all the time, so there's dispersion when there's ventilation, of pollutants in indoor spaces. And I suppose what we want to advocate is both ventilation and air filtration. So air filtration, cleans the air, and ventilation dilutes the contaminants or pollutants within the air. And I suppose we do have energy efficiency drives to seal buildings, which just has the negative impact of reducing ventilation within those spaces. So we have to, sort of put in other parameters that ensure that those indoor spaces are healthy. We have a lot of old buildings in Donegal. We have a lot of mica in Donegal. We have a lot of mold in those mica buildings. And, so like HEPA filtration in those buildings can help to remove mold spores, from homes that are potentially exacerbating asthma, for example, locally. But that applies to any older building. So we're here today as part of the Peace Air initiative, which is an SEUPB funded initiative to promote the reduction of coal burning and outdoor air pollutants. And our participation in that is to say that there is a continuum between indoor and outdoor air, that there are things in indoor air that are impacting health as well as outdoor air. And there's a lot of work and collaboration between UCC, UCD, TCD, and Queen's and county councils in Armagh and Donegal. This is a unique sort of collaboration of a lot of interested parties that are passionate about clean air, both outdoors and indoors, in improving human health and highlighting that technology, sensors, and measuring the air quality, both outdoors and indoors, can make those parameters visible so that we know what we're dealing about. The problem with air is that it's invisible. We can see water if it's not clean. It goes dark. We're not going to drink it. But nothing is telling us how healthy our air is. So we have to monitor it to make it visible. So our participation in the study is hopefully going to be based around a patient cohort, and we're choosing asthma as the vulnerable patient cohort, where we are hoping to provide the science and technology of sensors within homes to see how that impacts behaviour change and improves symptoms for asthma. Because our homes, we like to think of our homes as safe, and we don't like to impact that security within our homes. But what we're saying is you can make positive changes within your homes, within your buildings, both public and enterprise or hospitals, schools, wherever an indoor space is, to make them healthier, because we do spend a lot of time there and it does impact us.
Yeah, and I was in this sounds, but if you go into a sauna, or if you go into an area with high humidity, you can all of a sudden be conscious of a weight or something in the air that you can't necessarily see. So it might help for us to understand how there's other stuff in the air that we can't necessarily see. Finally, Kira, this is science-based, right? It's being led out by medical professionals like yourself. there are solutions there that you're not asking anyone to wear anything. Okay, the science is already there actually to resolve this. Really, we should be pushing an open door. What is the blockage that needs to be cleared here? Because I mean, obviously, it's a non-brainer. Cleaner air in schools. Just to go back to that point, of course, it makes a great deal of sense.
Yeah, like what parent doesn't want their child to be breathing clean air? The problem is we don't know whether it is or not. So we need to monitor the air quality. We need to have standards for air quality indoors as well as outdoors. There is the HSA Code of Practice for air quality, but that applies it to employment settings. We would like that applied to all indoor spaces, including schools and hospitals, so that it will, improve human health within those settings. And there's a lot of things that can be measured, and that can be the science bit. We want a sort of traffic light system of green, amber and red, so that what you can do if you're in the red, and that is open windows and turn on your air filtration or increase your mechanical ventilation if you happen to have a retrofit or if you happen to have that installed as a new build.
All right, Ciara, thanks so much for your time. Look after yourself. Dr. Ciara Steele, co-founder of Clean Air Advocacy Ireland.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000. No hidden fees or charges. Is 2026 the year you move into your dream home? Call 074 9102127 or email mortgage@letterkennycu.ie.
It's an eye-watering Euro Millions jackpot of an estimated €80 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
At iMotors, your trusted Donegal dealership for over 50 years, we bring you Nissan, a reliable Japanese brand for generations. Get your new 261 Nissan with €4,000 finance contribution or trade-in booster. Plus, enjoy low-rate finance options. Visit imotors.ie today for your best deal for 2026.
iMotors, fearless generation. Take it to the limit. A celebration of the Eagles comes to the Radisson Hotel Sligo for one night only on Sunday, January 18th. Hear Johnny Brady, Simon Casey, Nigel Connell and the Sheeran family perform all the Eagles' biggest hits. Tickets from €34.50. Available from hotel reception or at takeittothelimit.ie.
January at Irwin Expert means reductions in every department. If you're planning a new build or a remodel, this is the time. Pick your appliances now and lay away for later in the year. Plus, all the usual suspects are on sale. Dyson, Shark, LG and more. Irwin Expert, Letterkenny and Muncrana. Start the year smart.
If you're considering making some changes in your home, visit the big January sale now on in McGinley's Furniture, Letterkenny. There's great reductions in every department, with big savings on suites, beds, mattresses, living room and dining room furniture. Also on occasional furniture, including lamps, pictures and mirrors. That's all in the big January sale, now on at McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny. See mcginleysfurniture.com.
McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles in Buncrana, massive 10-day sale now on until Saturday, January 17th. Enjoy outstanding savings on tiles, bathroom suite, showers, accessories, flooring and everything you need to transform your home. Whether it's a quick refresh or a full renovation, you'll find quality brands, modern styles and unbeatable value right across the store.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Further reductions now on in the McElhenny's winter sale. Save up to 50% off your favourite designer brands in store or online today at mcelhennys.com.
So, the frost and fog is going to clear. The rest of the day will see sunny spells, scattered showers. Some of the showers will be heavy with hail and thunder possible. Highest temperatures of 5 to 8 degrees in moderate southeasterly breezes. Now, we read in the paper this morning that schools must use the preferred name and pronouns of transgender students, who should also be allowed to use the bathrooms and changing rooms of their preferred gender. This according to a new guide on the rights of trans people. Lots of you messaging in relation to that, and some of them are quite detailed because, of course, it is a complex matter. A caller says, if we refuse to do this this stuff, will we be suspended, sacked like Enoch Burke was, Greg? P.S. Your show is far too short now. I didn't see that last bit before I read it out, but thanks for your comment there. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure unless it got into a disciplinary situation. And that's the one thing with the Enoch Burke situation we never really got to tease out, because he ended up being suspended for his approaches towards the principal, alleged, etc. So we never really got that teased out. Hi, Greg. What stops paedophiles and rapists from entering the wrong changing room, claiming to identify as a different gender? Then I feel like the world's gone mad and only getting worse every day. When will we realise there are only two genders in regards to your anatomy? That's my opinion anyway. Children thinking they're in the wrong body can be a fad. I know 2 children who thought they were trans but don't think that now. They are teenagers. Imagine if they had puberty blockers and irreparable damage done to their fertility. Do what you want when you're over 18, but no decision before that age should be taken seriously. No man with a penis who wants to dress as a woman should be allowed into female spaces. And this is where I believe really that we have to be respectful of people's rights and their feelings and what have you. But we also have to make sure that what we're doing is correct. Okay, so what is what we're doing correct for the child, not just all the adults arguing about it, right? Greg, I remember being in a changing room in Letterkenny a few years ago, and as I was coming out of a cubicle, a fellow was coming out of the one beside me. He was obviously trans or identified as female and was trying on dresses, etc. I felt very uncomfortable. There was male and female changing rooms, but did you say anything? No. And that can be seen, and I often see it where someone uses facilities that align to their gender, and they say, well, no one's ever said anything to me. People mustn't have a problem with it. Ireland gone mad once again by allowing transgender people to choose their gender at will and then use toilets and changing rooms of their choice. It's outrageous and will not be tolerated by people under any circumstances, as you correctly pointed out, where are the rights of the majority. I don't know what the majority of people think or how they'll behave in relation to it, to be honest with you. This is not necessarily something new, by the way. This has just been copper fastened in this latest documentation. Hi, on the transgender topic that was brought up in the papers this morning, Foyle Arena Leisure Centre has a shared changing room with no issue. Many shops have shared changing rooms because they have cubicles, and many bathrooms, again, have the toilet in a cubicle. I have no problem as a woman with a man needing to use the female bathroom if the male is inaccessible and they really need to go. As long as they don't do something disgusting like go to the toilet in the sink, because we have cubicles. Coming out as transgender is already hard enough for those in our communities. Without this extra added fear, mongering and hatred, it breaks my heart. Society seems to become more uncaring. I do understand exactly where you're coming from, but I also would have done quite a bit of reading in relation to this. And for many people who are trans, shared spaces is not the solution, actually, because that doesn't... they believe, and as I say, this is not across the board, they believe they're being treated differently to other women or other men, and they should be able to use those spaces and not communal spaces, if that makes sense. Okay, unisex toilets are the way forward, says the listener. Girls do not need to see boys' genitalia and vice versa. No one can force me to corrupt my normal language by calling one male or female they, but I will call him Carol or her Christopher if that is their name. I really very rarely refer to people as they, them, or he, to be honest with you. Right, I literally can't squeeze that in, Shannon. It just came in just a little bit too late. So reading on here, a child in their teens is all over the place and going through adolescence and highly influenced by their peers and or a parent. It is too early for any young person to decide if they've gender dysphoria. The government is fueling this with their stupid regulations. They need to read the Cass report that found to the contrary of what the government is implementing. The Cass review, led by Dr. Hilary Cass and published in its final form in April 24, was an independent study commissioned by the NHS England to evaluate gender identity services for children and young people. Again, of course, to properly afford care to a young person, you have to determine, is this gender dysphoria? Is it something else? What level of evaluation is done? There's no other sphere, perhaps generally people might argue, where you would affirm what someone is saying without saying, well, are you sure? Do we need to check it's not this, that or other? But anyway, listen, back with more after the news.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans made easy. Apply online or through our app today and get the funds straight into your current account.
A password that needs a capital letter, a symbol and a hieroglyph. a 35-year-old with the job title Chief Vibe Alignment Curator, a mobile phone plan that offers you a dynamic megabyte to gigaflop ratio. When did everything become so complicated? We don't know, but at An Post Mobile, we've kept it simple. Get all the data and calls you need for just $12.99 a month. It's really that simple with An Post Mobile. Terms and conditions apply. See onpost.com/1299 TCS for details.
If you're feeling unwell, Clinic 45 is now open in Letterkenny, providing expert care with a wide range of medical services, including blood tests, vaccines, minor injuries and prescriptions. Consultations are just €45. Clinic 45 now open Monday to Friday at Fort Lynn House in Fort Retail Park, Letterkenny, opposite the New Duns. No appointment needed. See clinic45.ie.
Every year in the GAA, something unique happens. First-class rivals suddenly become first-class teammates. Fierce inter-county foes turn into friends, and yesterday's opponents now have each other's backs. Grudges set aside, all of the best club and county players from every corner of this country line out in their college or university jerseys to play together, challenge together, and win together. It can only be the Electric Ireland Sigerson, Fitzgibbon and Higher Education Championships.
Hurry, the biggest sale ever at Easy Living Furniture is almost over. Don't miss your final chance to transform your home. Every department is bursting with unbeatable offers, including sofas, living, dining, bedroom, mattresses, accessories and more. This is your last opportunity to save big and make the most of these exceptional discounts at one of Ireland's largest furniture retailers. Shop at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, before the biggest sale ever ends.
McGowan Hearing, one of the longest established audiologists in the Northwest, now have weekly clinics in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Carndonagh. Book your free hearing aid consultation at one of these clinics or with audiologist Darren McGowan in your own home. Call 07191 00208 or visit mcgowanhearing.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning with the Highland Radio News at 10 o'clock. I'm Ryan Brawley. The chair of the Donegal County Council's Defective Concrete Blocks Committee has said a meeting with the Banking and Payments Federation of Ireland yesterday was positive. Following the meeting, the BPFI head said it is vital work is done so the market can start to move again. Councillor Thomas Sean Devine says that after the meeting, there is now opportunities for further collaboration.
Yeah, that's what we agreed today, that there will be more cooperation between both parties now through the Council Defective Concrete Block Committee and the Banking Federation. You know, and as I say, we have a local group here, the focus group, and it's absolutely tremendous the work that these people do. You know, and it was credit to them for getting the banking group set up and getting this work done.
It has been confirmed that Minister of State at the Department of Culture, Communications and Sport, Charlie McConlogue, was one of the ministers paid due to a clerical error and has entered a repayment plan. This error was made by the National Shared Services Office, which resulted in overpayments. In a statement on his behalf, it was confirmed that Mr McConlogue has a payment plan agreed with the NSSO to clear this amount. Gardaí are appealing for witnesses following a serious road traffic collision between a car and an elderly pedestrian at Lower Main Street, Letterkenny, yesterday afternoon. The incident took place at approximately 1 p.m. The pedestrian, who is in his 80s, was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for serious injuries. Anyone with information, including dashcam footage, is urged to contact Letterkenny Garda Station. The issue of sign cleaning has been raised at a recent meeting of Letterkenny and Milford Municipal District. The issue was raised by Councillor Declan Meehan, who told a meeting that the build-up of algae on some signs is so serious in parts of the wider Milford area that they are close to being unreadable. Donegal County Council says a programme will now be put in place for the cleaning of signs across the MD. Councillor Meehan says tidy towns do great work for keeping towns and villages clean, and that needs to be matched by the council.
One of the very basic roles of our roads team is that the roads need to be kept in good condition, and part of the roads is the signage. And in all too many examples out there of signage in very poor condition, simply from being dirty and covered in algae. And my motion today was that the roads team would address this. Sometimes it's little things that you get the most contact over, and I've had a lot of contact over the poor state of road signage around the Milford electoral area.
Gardaí and emergency services are at the scene of a road traffic collision on the N56 near Falcara this morning. Local diversions are in place. The road is currently closed but is expected to reopen shortly. New figures from the Department of Housing show that over 1,900 homes commenced in Donegal over the last 2 years. Over the last 5 years, over 3,500 new homes have been commenced. With more, here's Alex Riley.
The report shows that nationally during 2025, 16,412 homes were commenced, with 789 in Donegal. The figure is lower than in 2024, with the department saying that this was due to 2024 having a significant boost through government initiatives. 1,984 units were commenced in Donegal across 2024 and 2025 combined. This marks a 96% increase on the 1,011 units commenced during the previous 2-year period, 2022-2023, highlighting a substantial uplift in construction activity within the county. Over the last 5 years, a total of 3,504 units were commenced in Donegal, adding to the national figure of 176,206 during that time.
A 26-year-old man has been arrested and charged to court in Derry. This is in connection to an incident reported to have occurred on Great James Street in the early hours of Wednesday morning. He has been charged with theft, common assault and possession of a Class B controlled drug. He is expected to appear before Derry Magistrates Court today. Also in Derry, a man has been charged with a number of drug-related offences and is scheduled up to appear before Derry Magistrates Court later today. The man, aged 44 years old, has been charged with offences including possession of a Class B controlled drug, possession of a Class B controlled drug with intent to supply, and being concerned in the supply of a Class B controlled drug. And the weather, cloudy with mist and fog, patches mostly dry with just isolated coastal showers to the east, turning heavy at times. Highest temperatures of 4 to 7 degrees, cooler further west, light to moderate southeasterly winds. That is all from the newsroom for now. We'll be back with headlines at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices this Friday morning, January the 16th. The death has occurred of Blythe Dennis, 44 Lawson Park, Ballymagorry. Funeral leaving his home on Sunday at 2 p.m, followed by a service of thanksgiving for his life in Leckpatrick Parish Church at 2:30 p.m. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu if desired to Macmillan Cancer Support, care of Mrs. Ruth Hay, funeral director. Everyone is welcome to the family home today from 2 p.m. until 10 p.m. and tomorrow from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. The death has taken place of Elizabeth Betty Hay, née McElwain, Ards, Creeshla. Her remains will be reposing at her late residence from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. today. Funeral service in St John's Church, Ballymore tomorrow at 2 p.m. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member, or James Harkin, funeral director, Creeshla. The death has occurred of Anne Doherty, Gortfad, Clonmany. Her remains will be reposing at her home, where everyone is welcome to pay their respects. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:20 a.m. to St Mary's Church, Clonmany, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 10 p.m. until 11 a.m. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to St Columkill Village, Clea, Clonmany, care of any family member or McFeely funeral directors. Anne's funeral mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Denise Egan Dorr, 2 Mary Street, Glynn, County Limerick, formerly of the Post Office, Ardra, reposing in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Glynn, this evening from 4:30 p.m. until 7 p.m. Requiem Mass there tomorrow at 12 noon, followed by burial in the adjoining church cemetery. House strictly private please. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Vivian Holt, Gorey, Malin. Vivian's remains will repose at her home today from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Funeral service tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock in Clonca Parish Church, Malin Town, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Flowers are welcome, or donations in lieu if desired to RNLI, care of any family member, or Eamon McLaughlin, funeral director. The death has occurred of Ailish McGinley, Brighton, and formerly of Lochmolt, Bruckles. Funeral Mass was held in Brighton on Thursday last. A memorial Mass will be held for Ailish in the Church of St Joseph and St Conal, Bruckles tomorrow morning at 11 a.m, followed by interment of ashes in the family plot. Donations in lieu of flowers to the MSA Trust, care of any family member. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
It could be traveling the world, discovering new cuisine and culture. Could be trekking your way through the Andes, llamas included. It could be island hopping the Pacific, yachting from one beach to another. Oh, and dining your way across Asia, breakfast in Tokyo, dinner in Delhi. It could mean running out of passport pages. The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly, play for fun.
And you're very welcome back to the Greg Hughes Show here on Highland Radio. A couple of requests before we move on to our next item, if that's okay with you. Granddaughter Faith Harkin in Broca, a very happy birthday to you from Nana Carlin, sending all her love, of course. And hi, can you please wish 4 sisters, Tishi, Eilish, Eileen and Susie Conn from Buncrana all the best on their travel today to be on the Late Late Show tonight. Oh, I've heard about this. This is actually quite a very, very interesting story. But I can't get to that just at the moment because I'm going to our next guest. Our Friday panel will be coming up for you very shortly, by the way, so stay tuned for that. But we have an opportunity to speak to Dermot Monaghan, who's Donegal Integrated Healthcare Area Manager, HSE West and North West. He joins us on the programme now. Thank you so much, Dermot.
Good morning, Greg, and to your listeners.
Great to chat to you. Now, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of positivity ongoing, which we'll get to in a moment. But obviously, as you can imagine, we get contacted here by things that don't work, right? And I think we can accept the majority of the time things do work. But as you can imagine, Dermot, people get agitated when things don't work. And we're getting an awful lot of conversation at the moment in relation to, at one point, 12 ambulances backed up looking to have patients removed from the ambulances, admitted to the hospital, and emergency department overcrowding. It seems to be particularly bad at the moment. Would you concede that it is, and if so, why?
Yes, Greg, yes, there's a significant pressure on at the present moment, and there's a number of factors with regards to that. It's the winter time, so we have a lot of significant illnesses going through the community, norovirus, we have flu, we've also small levels of COVID, but yes, it's a very significant challenge for us in the 2 weeks since Christmas. We actually did reasonably well over the Christmas period. A lot of preparation planning has gone into that, but there's been a significant surge post the Christmas period, and that looks at about 1,000. Last week there was 1,000 people attended our ED in Letterkenny, with about 50% of those walk-ins. This morning there's 12 in ED, or 12 in waiting beds, 7 in ED and 5 in the wards. And it's a particularly challenging period. Sunday was very challenging. We had 28 waiting beds. So we had an emergency management team meeting from across the region, not just for ourselves but for other hospitals. But it was really to deal with the surge that was there. Significant work was done in terms of the teams working together. Consultants came in at the weekend and progressed discharges, did ward rounds to make sure that people got their appropriate care to move through. With regard to the Sunday, there was actually 13 ambulances waiting to offload at LUH, 7 released prior to 7 p.m. So, but just to confirm that no patients remained waiting in the ambulance, they were all brought into the ED upon arrival, and then we had the handover to the ED department. But because of the work that had been done during the day, we had been able to reduce or create beds in the hospital to be able to allow those people to be accommodated in the hospital.
How much of this is, presentations? The numbers there are huge, there's no doubt about that, but also being able to accommodate them in terms of discharges, or actually being able to discharge people if sort of, whether or not the family can take the patient, whether or not there are home care packages available. How big of a challenge is that in the throughput in the hospital?
Absolutely, and it's one of the challenges we've had over the last 12 months, in that on average we've probably had about 30 people who we call delayed transfer of care, and that would be on a daily basis. It could be anywhere between 10 and 15 needing community nursing units, to be 10 or 8 to 10 needing home support, but also then we've got complex clients as well who need very enhanced packages of care, specialist onward placements. So we're working tirelessly on that there. So at the present moment we have probably about 70 to 80 beds closed in our community nursing units across the county, and they're spread geographically, but we have some positive progress been made with HICWA and with our HR and our infection control colleagues. So we're looking to reopen beds in Killybegs, Remelton, St Joseph's and Donegal Town towards the latter part of March and early April of this year. That'll give us probably an additional 25 to 27 beds that we'll be able to reopen. And in terms of, we've also got our brand new community, the hospital, community hospital on the Kilmacrennan Road opposite the Letterkenny Hospital, opening towards the end of the year, which will give us 110 beds. Now, of course, that won't open straight away. That will be phased. There'll be a process around, recruitment going on this year, but there's significant progress going to be made this year. But it still will remain challenging. With regards to home support, one of the challenges we have in Donegal is that our model is 95% HSE employed, directly employed services. So we've had some good news this year coming in that the service plan is going to give us additional WTEs to actually be able to increase the capacity of home support staff working as well.
What's WTEs?
Sorry, that's people, staff.
Okay.
Whole-time equivalent.
Directly employed by the HSE. Oh, whole-time equivalent. All right,
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yes.
And the funding is there for that. Is there adequate funding at the moment for home care packages? Last time I checked, it was in excess of 300 people waiting either for enhanced or any hours at all.
Yeah, and there isn't. Whilst there is a national cap on home support, we majoritively, because of the model we have and the recruitment process we have, we're normally under, but we try to be as over as much as we possibly can. But the challenge we have is recruitment, and it's very easy if you're, say, living in an urban centre like Galway or Dublin, where you have a lot of people residing in a small condensed area, but we have a very big county. It's very rural, and the challenge that we have is actually being able to recruit to those rural areas. So, for instance, some of the areas we would have availability, but in other areas we have none because
but just
we don't
in relation
have
to that, you talk about other areas. Why do we choose to be so? And some people believe it is the case, and it should be better resourced. But why are we so reliant on this care being provided through the HSC when we see these waiting lists? You can go to other areas much greater in population that it's more of a balance between HSC and private, and there are very few, if any, waits at all. So would that not indicate that the system we're employing compared to comparable other HSC areas is the wrong way to do it? But why do we do it this way?
Yeah, well, we don't choose to do it this way. Market forces mean that this is the way we have to do it. So a number of the private organisations have attempted to set up in this area, but they face the same challenges as ourselves in terms of recruitment. So it's whenever you have a big area like the East Coast, you have big cities like Drogheda, Dundalk, Dublin, those big towns that are there. They have the population base where you can draw employees from. In Donegal, we don't have those big population centres except for in Letterkenny, say, and in Donegal Town. But the rural areas are really challenged, where you have other employment opportunities, but also people, make lifestyle choices, and working for the HSE or working for a voluntary organisation. They have come in, Greg, and they have tried, and they do provide a significant proportion of hours, but if we were to drive, we're trying to drive the model, but every time we try to drive that model, they come up with the same challenges as ourselves.
Right. The model through Letterkenny University Hospital project has been generally well received. It's held in quite high regard. And indeed, the Minister for Health herself was one of those positive commentators. But one of the key issues is the underfunding of Letterkenny University Hospital. And we can compare it in terms of funding to most other Irish hospitals. How are you going to address this historic underfunding of Letterkenny University Hospital?
Well, there's two opportunities that we have. First of all, the Model 3 report for Letterkenny University Hospital is nearly complete. Professor Sugru and the team have actually, they're dotting the I's and crossing the T's as we speak, and that will be going up to Professor Pat Nash, the Regional Clinical Director, to be then brought into the national conversation. It's a very significant document. It does identify the shortfalls that there are across many of the specialities in Donegal. That is part of a national project, so that report goes into the centre, then it has to be analysed in there, and that is an opportunity for seeking additional investment. Secondly, we also have a situation where we're now moving to the integrated health areas. I, as Donegal IHA manager, am solely charged with identifying the needs for Donegal and actually then putting forward business cases to our regional health authority management team to actually say, here, this is what the needs of Donegal is, and absolutely you're correct in that the number of the areas we're significantly under where we should be. Professor Sugru's report is very significant. When the Minister was up on our visit, I drew it to her attention, and I did say to her that there was significant investment needed.
So with that in mind, do you think, sorry, and you were probably actually going to get to this, but I'll ask it as a question. Did you get positive indications from her or officially from the Department of Health or indeed the HSC that this imbalance that we both concede there now, that this will be addressed?
That would, like, it was an informal conversation, Greg, and it would be unfair to suggest otherwise.
Okay.
But it was drawn to our attention. But the Model 3 report is part of a national review looking into the sustainability of Model 3 hospitals. That hasn't been done lately. It is recognising the important role that they play, and that if we don't invest in our Model 3 hospitals, we are going to be left with a situation where the Model 4 hospitals will be overwhelmed. So for us, it's very, very clearly we were tasked with a role. Professor Sugru and all the team in Letterkenny University Hospital have been working on that. They have put together a very comprehensive document that analyses in very high level of detail where Letterkenny University Hospital sits in terms of the funding required currently getting and the funding required to bring it to the level that is needed to maintain it safely as a Model 3 hospital service.
All right, okay, it's interesting that it seems to be quite an advancement in language in accepting that's the case, not by you, but generally, which is good. We had this horrendous situation this week where 4 women with breast cancer were told that their potentially life-saving, life-extending cancer treatment, their surgeries were being cancelled and that they would be returned to the list. You are a human, I'm a human. We know that the impact this might have on these women, their children, their families, their partners. It's absolutely horrendous. Why can't we have a small number of surgical beds ring-fenced so that we can make sure that this life-saving surgery can be undertaken? Because we know the people are there, we know they're ready to go, we know their skill set, but we don't have the beds. How can we, in this day and age, be ringing up women and saying, sorry, your effective, potentially life-saving surgery has been cancelled? Why can't we ring-fence beds to ensure this doesn't happen?
And the main driver for that is the situation we found ourselves in the last 2 weeks, Greg, whereby we had significant numbers of people. On Sunday morning, we had 28 people in the hospital needing a hospital bed, and we had to use every bed that we had at our disposal. Not included day surgery beds, it included additional beds on the wards, etc. But firstly, I'd want to apologise sincerely to the 4 women that were affected by that decision. But we were affected. We had the process of whereby we were sitting looking at 28 people in ED waiting in the hospital waiting beds at that particular time on Sunday.
Is that not a blunt instrument, though? Is that not a blunt instrument? Because you know as well as I do, all of those 28 people were deemed sick enough to be admitted to hospital. Some could have had a kidney infection that requires them to be placed on a drip, and they could be out in 2 or 3 days. Or, there are nuances within that 28. How can the solution to housing those 28 people who are perfectly entitled to a bed be to cancel the potentially life-saving operations of 4 breast cancer sufferers? Do you get where I'm coming from? That can't be, surely. It's too blunt.
Yeah, and we don't normally do it as rigidly as that. There is a conversation that goes on between ourselves in the hospital fraternity, but also with the regional clinical director. So that decision isn't taken just by one person at a particular time, and it was done on what we were faced with, facing into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we did that on the basis of making the right decision to protect the people that were in ED, but also in analysing what was going on with the other presentations that were becoming.
Well, with that in mind, with that in mind, going forward, because I think it has been done before. Going forward, will you be in favour, or perhaps encouraging, the ring fencing of surgical beds into the future, so that there aren't any other women or men, depending on what the surgeries are, but in this case there aren't other women that will get that phone call to say, sorry, you've built yourself up for this, but we can't do it. Are you going to commit today to ring fencing beds to ensure this will not happen again? Please.
What I'm committing to is that the hospital team will take the appropriate decision to make sure that we provide as wide a care level of care to all the people who require it across the hospital, and that will be done on a daily basis. We do not, under any circumstances, take any decision lightly. It's always based on what is most appropriate. And I would say to you, Greg, and the listeners, that in terms of the run-up to Christmas and through Christmas, we made decisions on making sure that a number of beds were available throughout that period that was able to be solely focused on day surgery. We did that on a daily basis. So today, for instance, there's 10 people getting elective surgery today. So that's done on a daily basis, depending on the position of the hospital at that particular time.
Yes, but again, I'll just say, I'm not a medical professional, but there's 28 people, those 28 that needed the beds. I know, I have people in my life that went into hospital over this period, and of course they did need to go into hospital, but it was for a bag of antibiotics, or it was until infection markers were down. It wasn't for life-saving breast cancer surgery. So with that in mind, can I implore you on behalf of the people of Donegal once again to please try and commit to ring fencing beds to ensure these women get their surgeries when the other medical professionals believe it's vital that they do?
Yeah, and we take absolutely, we are committed to making that decision on a daily basis, and we have been doing it, Greg. The situation we were faced with in the first 2 weeks of this year was that we were challenged very directly in being able to deliver on that there, and we apologise unreservedly for that there. And those 4 women will be prioritised for their surgery quickly as possible.
But that does bump 4 more back the way. Listen, okay, but you're not committing to, or the hospital is not committing to ring fencing surgical beds, which is quite regrettable. I think I can say that on behalf of the public, if you don't mind, Dermot, with respect.
What I did say is that on a daily basis we are making decisions to make sure that people get the services that they require. And what we did before Christmas, we did have on a daily basis a number of beds available for day services that allowed day surgery to go ahead. The number varied, but on a minimum it was between 4 and 5. So we have a process in place that goes on. Okay. I can't commit to you every day that that's going to be available because, as I say, on Monday of this week, or Sunday this week, we had a very challenging situation whereby we had to make a decision. Regretfully, it affected a number of people, but we will be making sure that they get back into the processes.
Brilliant news with the surgical hub, it has to be said, and it's great to see things progressing, and it's incredibly positive. It's a surgical hub plus, okay, so it's not quite what we've seen in other areas of the country. That being said, you know, in other areas, the surgical hub work continues and it's separate from the hospital, and it means that, you know, the hospital can continue to do its work. Do we know if the surgical hub for Letterkenny and the other bells and whistles, will this be a standalone building or in line with national policy, or does it fall outside national policy? And what impact, if it's not a separate building, might it have on the day-to-day running of the hospital?
Well, first of all, it's absolutely great news to have the surgical hub and the ambulatory care centre approved, but far more importantly, Greg, is the development control plan. The development control plan is to put in an additional 72 beds for the people of Donegal. That'll be across all the specialities. If you put the 72 beds in and the ambulatory care centre and the surgical hub, what you're getting then is a significant additionality in terms of the size of our ED, the size of our radiology, the size of our diagnostic services, but also all the support services. So at the present moment, we don't have those 72 beds, we don't have the surgical hub, we don't have the ambulatory care centre. We have an ED that's limited in its footprint. We have a radiology department that would be needing to be expanded. So this is a very significant investment, and whilst the focus is on the surgical hub and the ambulatory care centre rightly, we also need to acknowledge that the commitment of the Minister to 72 beds is a massive achievement for the hospital group and the community. In terms of what we're doing at the present moment is we've sat down with all the planners. We've looked at what is happening elsewhere. We've made sure that what we are doing in terms of the hospital itself, in terms of the footprint, it looks at where we place these services. At the present moment, it would be fair to say that we've engaged, particularly with our surgical colleagues. They've had a meeting with National Estates most recently, and they've also a number of them have been down to visit the Galway unit, which is still in development, but it's getting a view to the size of it. But one of the things that we have committed is that whatever solution we come up with, it will be fitted in to provide the maximum throughput and
But there could be a concern, could there not, that this could end up being an ED overflow? You know what I mean? If it's not separate, if it's not standalone, are we going to see a situation in 4, 5, 6 years where the work of the surgical hub is disrupted as it ends up being some sort of an overflow to do with issues in other areas? Can you assure us today that it will be a standalone service and won't be used as some sort of a stopgap in the event of pressures in other areas of the hospital?
Yeah, it is clearly the intention that this is a standalone service that works to deliver for day surgery and ambulatory care. So it'll have to be connected to the hospital. So it will still have a connection to the hospital, but we will be working on the basis that the day surgery and the ambulatory care centre will be working to deliver on those specific needs for the patients. It'll not be our intention is not to have it as any overflow. The reason that we've got the health planner and the development control plan is we're looking at what the bed numbers are going to be for the next 15-20 years. So our intention is that this will be protected facility that actually enables people to come in, get their day surgery, so it'll have a separate entrance into it, and that there'll be there has to be a connection to the hospital, because if something goes wrong, we have to be able to get into the hospital very quickly.
Yeah, of course.
So there's a number of options being considered in that there, and our states colleagues are working on that as to how we deliver in as quick a time as possible, both the ambulatory care centre and the surgical hub, but also the 72 beds.
Just time for one more question, and it's us, not you, so I appreciate your time. The delivery of chemotherapy, that came up in the Dáil this week. Key performance indicators in our local hospital aren't good. What are you doing, or what's the HSE doing to try and address the timely administration of chemotherapy to patients, Dermot?
Yeah, and I think you'd accept, Greg, that the improvement from the start of last year to the end of this year has been positive. Whilst we accept that it's been positive, we acknowledge that there's more to do. So we're working on making sure that we enhance our services to actually be able to improve that. We're looking at some solutions that for the Service Plan 26 that may move some of the developed services in the community as well. So we're really wanting to make sure that we do everything possible to deliver as to the highest standard of the KPI as possible.
Dermot, thanks for your time. I recognise there's a lot of positive stuff going on. I know staff and management were working hard down there, and a lot of people have a very positive experience of the hospital, which sounds kind of ironic when we're talking about a hospital. But I hope you understand that obviously we get an opportunity now and again to chat to you, and we want to make sure we address some of the issues. And hopefully maybe we can speak more regularly in the conversation and be a little bit more sort of balanced with the positives and then identifying and trying to help with the negatives. But for now, Dermot Monaghan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Greg.
Bye.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday, the 16th of January. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S15. It's game number 3. The numbers are 50, 81, 62, 14, 18, 90, 38, 16, 29, and finally 30. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com. At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we've spent 30 years bringing affordable luxury to Irish homes. Our winter sale has begun with incredible offers on kitchens, wardrobes, utilities, bedrooms and more. Don't miss out. Book your free design consultation at cherrymore.ie or call us on 074 9725822. Cherrymore, where beautiful homes begin.
If I was cyberbullied, you put your arm around me, right?
If the videos on my feed tried to push me to extremes, would you intervene?
What if I was pressured into a dangerous challenge?
Or became bombarded with videos of self-harm?
Disordered eating?
Suicide?
Children and young people can encounter violence, bullying, explicit content and many other dangers online. Harmful content is never acceptable. Report it to the platform where you see it. Visit Commission the Mound at www.cnam.ie for more on how to report.
The Grove Furnishings Big Winter Sale is now on with discounts in all departments. Sofas and chairs, dining room furniture, beds, mattresses and bedroom furniture and much more. Offers include a just arrived Reed Suite in a choice of 4 colours, 3 and 2 for €999 or 311 for €1,099 while stocks last. The Grove Furnishings Big Winter Sale now on at Lisnain and Letterkenny. Also see grovefurnishings.ie.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. New year, new wheels. Drive into 2026 with a low-rate car loan. Fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or visit today. The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Big plans, big dreams. Home improvement loans. Borrow up to €80,000. Visit letterkennycu.ie today.
Looking for something to do this January? Make a day of it at Century Complex. Enjoy movies, great food, games and let the kids burn off the energy in Century Play. From family days out to relaxing catch-ups, there's something for everyone under one roof. Visit centurycinemas.ie or call 07491 21976.
With 56 post offices across Donegal from Lifford to Letterkenny and an award-winning Irish customer service team, An Post Money is the only current account that's truly local. Start your financial year the right way. Pop in to your local post office or download the An Post Money app today. An Post Money, making better happen. Terms and conditions apply. A monthly maintenance fee applies. An Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
Hillary's huge winter sale is on, and now there's even more savings for the window wise, with an extra 10% off everything until the 2nd of February. That's on top of up to 50% off hundreds of made-to-measure blinds, curtains and shutters. Plus, keep the cold out and the cosy in, with free thermal lining on our favourite curtains and Roman blinds. And don't forget, with Hillary's, measuring and fitting is always included. So get window wise. Book your free in-home appointment today at hillarys.ie. Conditions apply.
Are you excited about your first day? I'm sure the teacher will be lovely.
Sometimes the moments that never happen matter the most. With Safe Space technology, the Volvo EX90 sees things you might miss. Meet the Volvo EX90, designed to be the safest Volvo car ever made. Learn more at volvocars.ie.
Groundswell of support against Mercosur. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, as the deal is set to be signed, we have full coverage from the protest in Athlone. Find out how a cut in EU fertiliser tariffs could impact prices. Tier Lawn reveals milk price outlook for spring. Debate on the headage reopened as IFA seeks to root out armchair farmers. Plus, don't miss part 1 of our special CAO guide. Never miss a story with an Irish Farmers Journal subscription. Go to www.ifj.ie/subscribe.
The Friday panel on The Greg Hughes Show.
Yes, unfortunately truncated because we had an opportunity to speak to Dermot Monaghan. They give us that time, and I suppose we had to take it. Councillor Kieran Brogan, Mary Hart, John McAteer, all three of you, a very good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning, Greg.
Good Kieran,
Mary and John.
I know you're on the HSC West forum. I'm not sure if you were privy to the conversation we just had, but I mean, obviously there are ongoing issues at Letterkenny University Hospital, complicated by, high levels of admissions and attendance, but also, of course, there are other problems or other issues that we could work on to mitigate that. Where do you see where we're at the moment?
I'm very concerned, Greg, and I was delighted to hear that you had the interview with Dermot. I want to acknowledge the work that Dermot's doing. I think he's doing a great job for us in Donegal, and I want to acknowledge the work of the people on the ground. But I think the challenging issue that we have at the minute, and I raised these issues at the November meeting of the Regional Health Forum, and I think we need to go back to where this is all emanating from. And you were talking about the different people who wasn't, the sickest people, if you like, weren't getting seen to. And I think we need to look at the hospital system overall at the minute and go back into the primary care. The one message that's very clear to us as public representatives over the course of the last number of years, people is not getting access to their GP. That's a huge problem. I've raised this at the Regional Health Forum. I've raised the role of NowDoc over the last while, because back in the day when NowDoc was rolled out, it was a great model, and we often met the cars on the road going to different parts of the country to keep people who were sick and vulnerable at home. The doctors were visiting the home. They were prescribing whatever medicine they needed. It was an awful lot of work at the time to keep people in the home. And I want to acknowledge the work that is happening now by people like the first responders, and Pathfinder has been rolled out as well. But it was acknowledged at the November meeting that the triaging that's been done at NowDoc, a lot of the decisions has now been made by the nurses, where ambulances are being referred to lift people to take them into the hospital. And I just think it's so wrong. And what I've said, Greg, and I'm glad of the opportunity to say it here publicly today again, the ambulance service has been abused. Nobody wants to hear that said, but it has been abused, because I'm talking on a regular basis to the people on the ground. Back in the day, an ambulance was only sent for when it was an emergency and somebody needed that ambulance badly. And what's going to happen here, and I've seen and experienced it recently over the last while, that ambulances are being sent out when they're not urgent and not an emergency. And what's going to happen, and I hate to say this, but it happened before, somebody who needs an ambulance in an emergency, there's going to be no ambulance available, and I'm afraid that a life will be lost.
Well, we had one day 13 ambulances, according to Mr. Monaghan, backed up at Letterkenny University Hospital, and in that same time period, we're hearing of a young woman with acute abdominal pain being told that she'd have to wait 4 hours for an ambulance. I'm not directly connecting those two, but it is only a matter of time. And very sadly, Kieran, I've spoken to you because you've been advocating on behalf of families in the past that they feel a death happened in the family because a delayed ambulance response. And it's not NAS. They want to get out to people. Mary Hart, it is quite concerning, isn't it? Especially for older people, because I have to be conscious in that I don't deter people from attending the ED. In other words, describing it as this place that you should never set foot in, right? Of course, that's not the case. Get along there, and we hope the most sick people are seen first. But if they can't get to their GP, they're hesitant about going to the ED. People are going to fall, in a health sense, Mary, between the cracks.
Yeah, I think, you're absolutely right. And I agree with what Kieran says as well. This is just a total mess, and the staff are excellent, and I have had many reasons to be in the A&E myself and in the hospital with relatives. Absolutely. The difficulty, I think, and it keeps coming back to me, that one of my friends who's a doctor said, in the days when you would have gone to your doctor first and foremost, and then he would have referred you to the specific ward or the specific care unit in the hospital rather than sending you to A&E. And I agree with what Kieran says. The difficulty seeing a doctor now is the big problem, because everybody then heads to A&E. And, you know, we just, obviously our population has increased and we don't have capacity the way we should have it. But there is a serious issue with everybody landing at that roadblock at A&E. And, you know, I know stories of horrendous stories of people, you know, with cancer, you know, being sick, waiting to be seen and being told you'll just have to wait, which is appalling. But it's not the staff's fault. So there's no point in, we're going round and round and round in circles about this in every hospital across the country, and it really is a need. And I think reverting back to the old units of, you know, the Northwestern Health Board, where you see the specifics in each area and the problems are dealt with in each area, rather than the centralising of the HSE, which has not worked. It won't work. No matter many labels or many new HSE chief executives you put in place, it's just not going to work unless there's a complete and utter change of how it works.
Yeah. Okay. We don't even have a pathway to that, though. John McAteer, I do wonder sometimes too, maybe of GPs, and I don't know if it's because we're more litigious or whatever it might be, also can be overcautious in terms of sending people to the hospital compared to providing sort of the in-surgery care, John, and to the wider point.
I don't really see it having any big issues with the GPs. They're overworked as well. Their surgeries are filled. This time of the year is a real flashpoint. What do you say here? Capacity, as Kieran highlighted there, is seriously inadequate. We're talking for 20 years about doing something about that. Do you open GP surgeries until 10 or 11 o'clock at night? How do you staff that? How do you pay for it? And I mean, those patients will still probably end up in the A&E department at Letterkenny University Hospital. We would hope at this point that the worst of the flu season is now over, touch wood, but capacity at the hospital has been inadequate for 25 years. We're adding on bits and pieces, piecemeal. We're not doing enough, and we're not doing it quick enough. I'd be very impressed by the new health minister, Jennifer Carroll McNeil. I think she has moved things on with a degree of urgency that was lacking for the previous 10 years, and she will, like, she's not a year in the job yet. She has 27.4 million this year. But like, in the meantime, the fact that cancer patients have to forego their treatment, listening to that interview with Dermot Morgan, I was quite shocked that you could get no commitment from him. I could understand why. It shows you the kind of pressures that they're under down there, trying to do their very, very best, but yet four cancer patients couldn't be treated. And what kind of a message is that really sending out to people who are seriously ill?
Well, it's very concerning.
I don't think that's good enough.
I just, as I say, of the 28 that they were trying to accommodate, I can't imagine that all 28 were waiting for life-saving surgery, and that there needs to be more adaptation to say, hold on a second, these 4 women here, it's not only the fact that they won't get their operations now and the impact that could have, is what is actually the impact on them and their families beyond that as well. John, I'll stay with you. Schools must use the preferred name and pronouns of transgender students, who should also be allowed to use the bathroom of their preferred gender. This is self-identifying. It's in schools now. According to the Council for Civil Liberties, backed by the government's Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission, it means really that if I were to genuinely believe that I was a woman, that if I went down to the local leisure centre, I could go in and use and would be entitled to use the female changing rooms. Obviously, that's just really reaffirming the way it is in this country, but a lot of people here are also consuming media from Britain, and they can see how things are very different over there now. It's a very complex matter, and I don't really enjoy talking about it or asking people about it because it is so complex. But what's your initial reaction to these recommendations?
The use of the pronoun, we go back to the Burke family and Castlebar. I would have no issue with that. These people, if it's their wish that they be addressed in that way. So, and the school approves of it, who are we to disagree with it? And so far as toilets are concerned, that's a much, much more complex issue. And there are no easy answers there. But doing nothing is really not an option.
But if you have a 14-year-old a biological boy who now identifies as a female, is it the right thing to do to use a new name for that person and also to use her and she pronouns? Is that the right thing for the kid, though? I know we've no problem for it, but is that the right thing to do?
We don't know. We simply don't know, because the right of the individual and indeed the mental health well-being of the individual and all of those complex issues that arise, they all have to be considered there. It's very difficult for everybody concerned, but I mean, you can't exclude them and say, no, you can't do that, you must not do that. Like at the end of the day, these are issues that need to be looked at in the round to see is there a more equitable solution to it. Going into bathrooms as a male, women will see that as a threat. Can you blame them?
Mary, you're on this call the person most likely, I suppose, in a changing room or bathroom situation to really have to process this. Initially, what's your reaction to this reaffirming of our stance here by these two rights bodies?
Well, I mean, the reaffirming is if that's what they believe is correct, then they are the correct people to make this judgment. I'm not sure that it is obligatory, but I'm reading what's in the Irish Times today. It appears to be the guidelines, and it is still open to taking an action against to the civil liberties, not to the courts, which will tell you it's not enshrined in law. Therefore, the schools can make their own judgment, and we've already seen the issues when this comes up with other schools down the country. I mean, just to go back to John, certainly, I mean, if young people or anyone believe, it is their issue. It is that if they want to be regarded in every way as a woman or as a man, then that is their right. That we cannot deny that. Otherwise, we're down a terrible road.
Why, if this is what they believe, and I'm not saying it's not what they believe, why should everybody else have to affirm that? Why?
Well, why should they not? Why should they not have to affirm that? I mean, this is a right of people. And go back to John and the toilets. I lived in Brussels when I was just finished college, so I'm talking 40 plus years ago. And the toilets then, when you went out in the bars, were communal. And it took me a while to get used to that. But once you got used to it, and I think we just have a mindset. And to be honest, I don't see an issue with that. It's just getting over that hump. It's getting over that issue.
But there are also sort of competing rights. Do you not believe that women have a right to single-sex spaces? In other words, the rights to afford a biological male who identifies as a woman the right to access that space. Some would feel that trumps the right of a woman to be able to change or use the bathroom in a single-sex space.
Yeah, I know, and I can argue both ways on this one, because I go to the Aura and it's the units are there, they're communal, So initially I thought, oh, is there not changing rooms for women? And no, it's communal, and then that's fine. Then you get over that, and I think we just have to get over it. I mean, if you're in somebody's home and you go to the bathroom, well, the bathrooms are all communal. You don't sort of say, well, that's the man's loo and that's the woman's, and it's. Their cubicles are closed. It's not, you're not going to be, beside somebody in a urinal if you're a woman. That, and I believe that we just have to get over that whole issue.
So, in relation to that, would the transgender woman have to present as female then, or does it matter? That doesn't matter either.
I don't think it should matter. I think we should look at that as I go back to that European model. And I lived in Japan. It's the same thing. There are no separate toilets. There's everybody uses the same.
I would observe some organisation that represents transgender people, and they actually don't see gender neutral toilets as a solution to this because they believe that's discrimination and that someone who identifies as a trans male should be able to use the male's toilets. So in other words, this compromise, many of the big groups representing transgender people, they don't see that as a compromise at all. Kieran Brogan, do you have views in relation to this?
Yeah, it was interesting when Mary made the point about the hour. I remember back, it's over 18 years ago now, in the council, we had a huge level of discussion and debate around how that would work out. And you would have to say, to be fair, it has worked out well. It's 18 years later, and you know, it has worked out good. But I think a lot of it comes down to mutual respect, to be honest. If someone you know, wants to be called a certain name or wants to be called whatever, I think Ireland has really come on in this whole area. And I think mutual respect is something that we have, I suppose, a great strength in, to be honest. And sometimes we can overcomplicate a situation and maybe just keep it simple. And I think if we did do that, there would be less of the complications that we do see, to be honest. I think we're a very educated society now, and the schools are very good.
I've lost Kieran there. Okay. We all seem to be on the same page. You all seem to be on the same page in relation to that. John McAteer, obviously the Tyrconnell Tribune's focused quite an awful lot on the Mercer deal. It's very important. It's up to the MEPs now. 200 odd are indicating they'll vote against it. They need, 361 to vote against it. It looks like it's going to pass.
Yeah.
Is there any good news here, or what's your take on it?
I don't think there's any good news here. I genuinely don't believe that, because the claim that this effectively means the EU having an extra million cattle doesn't sit easily with the production future for this country. I think Mercosur has been very badly handled, whether it was ever as necessary. Did the Germans need to import all the cars that they ever make to get a proper deal there? I'm not too sure of that. People have eaten beef from the Mercosur countries. Some are happy with it, others are not. And as long as this fear is there that they haven't the same standards as we have, especially with growth hormones, as was found in Northern Ireland before Christmas time, that is a very, very worrying thing. The farmers, I think, have energy. They've re-energized themselves through last Saturday's demonstration when 20,000 people made their way to Athlone before dawn in very treacherous conditions. And their voices were heard in unison for the very first time. And I think that is very beneficial, because Kieran will know there that rural Ireland is just dying on its feet because young people are not staying in farming.
Mary, sorry, John, I'm just right up against the clock.
No, you're all right.
30 seconds.
Don't be worrying.
Yeah, no, I wish we had more time. 30 seconds to a minute to you for Mary. Anything? I mean, we will see the rate tariffs dropped on certain other stuff that we do. So there will be some export bonus, but for farming, not good at all.
Yeah, I think there's positives, huge positives. I mean, we have the best meats in the world, as well as the farmers will verify, and as we will verify ourselves. That won't change. And there's a lot of very wealthy people in the South American new common market as it is now, and it's a huge market for Irish beef. And I don't think, we don't have to look too far to find angel dust being used here. So, I mean, there's always going to be issues, but it was detected, and that's good. I think it opens up the market for lots of other products that we have in Ireland that have been close to us in North America, and I think South America will open it up. And it's 21 years since they've been working on this at European level, and the Commission, they go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and I do believe it'll be worthwhile. And I do come from a farming background myself. My father they reared their own cattle, and they slaughtered their own cattle, and they sold them in the same butcher shop. So I have somewhat of a sympathy for the farmers who have a fantastic beef trade here. But I don't think that's going to be affected. I think they'll get stronger, and they have a bigger market for their beef.
John, not so much.
No, I don't agree with that at all, because beef prices are already falling. People are getting out of farming, and something like Mercosur dumping another 99,000 tonnes of beef. We're already importing 200,000 tonnes of beef into the EU from those 4 Mercosur countries. It's a challenge to farming. It's a real threat, and I don't think that the IFA economists are getting this wrong. I would love to think that they could be wrong. I actually believe that they're 100% right.
All right.
And that's it.
John McAteer, thank you so very much indeed. Always a pleasure to have you on the programme.
Thank you, Greg.
Bye-bye. Mary Hart, great to see you. Great to chat to you. Yep. Have a great weekend. And Kieran Brogan joined us as well, but we had a slight dropout. So Councillor Kieran Brogan, thank you very much. We'll be back with the show again on Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Don't forget, the sister podcast to this show goes live on our website. An interesting chat about 40 years off the drink. Stay